Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at Ghost Rider's latest uniform. We're going to be comparing this uniform to the seasonal uniform. The seasonal uniform, as we all know, is one of the best uniforms in the game. However, it is a seasonal, so a lot of people might not have it or have not gotten the chance to pick him up yet. So yeah, I'm going to be testing them out and checking out which uniform is actually better and if the new uniform has completely replaced the previous uniform. So yeah, let's switch to the new old uniform and check out the stats real quick before we get started with the testing. So we'll be testing him out in PvE specifically in this video. We're going to be starting with Rifts and seeing if the new uniform is better than the old uniform when we try to do like farming Rifts, or since he is elemental damage character, you can really use him in story mode as well. So making him versatile for farming as well. However, the old uniform wasn't that efficient when it came to farming, so hopefully the new uniform gives us better results. With that being said, I think we need the end of the first run, and it seems like we're close to like a minute. Yeah, so 58 seconds it took to complete stage 6 of a dimension rift. And yeah, that's pretty high for what I'm used to. I usually use Rogue to clear this. So we get our first score on the board, and let's see how the new uniform does. So I'm using double supports, Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, and Ghost Panther, and already we can see this uniform prioritizes skill number 4, which is on autoplay at least, and that's going to be very crucial because skill number 4 is his bread and butter. So already this uniform is a lot better for Rifts, as we can tell. We were almost like 10 to 15 seconds faster. Yeah, 42 seconds. That's a massive improvement. So that's our first testing done. For rift times, the new uniform is a lot better. So I'm wondering if I should test him out against Rogue or Thor for farming in general. But yeah, we move on to World Boss Legends now. We're stage 19 of Ebonimo, the World Boss Legend Plus, and here I am using Gladiator's Lead for the all attack improvement. However, I am not using any support, so the time would be a lot better if I had supports, but I don't have any tier 4 supports at the moment. But still, yeah, so with this uniform, it's a lot more methodical how you can play him. You do I at least do like 3 delay cancel 5 into 4, and I also every now and then cancel 1 and 2 into the rest of the rotation, and whenever 6 is available I do a slight delay cancel until like the ground changes color into the rest of the rotation, or whenever it's available I just pop that and then pop the 4th skill. I just make sure that I end my rotation with the 4th skill. So yeah, that ends this run. We had slightly over 1 minute 30 seconds on the clock. Pretty decent. I am using him with a judgment, so yeah, that was a pretty good run. So that's our first score for the World Boss Legends, 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Now we can take the other uniform into battle. This uniform is a bit more haphazard to play, like it's a lot random because you can pretty much cancel everything into 4. So yeah, normal rotations don't really have to be that or thought out. Like the 6th skill is still the same. You have to wait a little bit before canceling it into 4 or the rest of the rotation. But yeah, I found out that he's a little bit more difficult to play given he doesn't have the V-pad the previous uniform had. So oftentimes I would get caught like not being able to take the Aether in this like specific world boss, and I think it's also gonna affect like my world boss Alliance Battle Legend score, I mean. So yeah, apart from that, I think the only other issue that I faced while trying to beat this level was the 5th skill has a longer cooldown compared to like the previous uniform. So the rhythm I almost always like messed up because the 5th skill takes a lot longer to cool down now, and it felt weird whenever I was ready with the rest of my skills, and the 5th skill was all still on cooldown. So yeah, that ends this run, and we ended it slightly slower, I think. It's almost like 15 seconds. It's not that big of a difference, but it is a marginally different. So for this case, it seems like the previous uniform was better. Now I'm gonna be testing him out as a striker in Alliance Battle Extreme on my Doctor Strange. So I'm gonna fast forward this as quickly as possible to see what the difference is. I looked at the animations, and for the new uniform, the 4th skill is a bit longer than the 4th skill for the previous one, but the previous one deals a little bit more damage. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the difference is like. So we're near the end with the seasonal uniform, and we ended around 17.7 million. So that's pretty decent. So now we can move on to the new uniform as the striker. It's the same exact parameters. Doctor Strange with the same supports, same restriction. Let's see how he does here, and hopefully it is a little bit better. That would mean like the uniform is an upgrade. But if it isn't that much, or like if it isn't a marginal difference, I don't think it's gonna be a good sign for the new uniform. My Ghost Rider is built for like a striker, meaning I have a judgment on him with attack damage boost with a 240 proc for him to be like an insane striker for my Alliance Battle characters. So it seems like we received a slight improvement, but it was very marginal. So like I don't think it's even like that big of a difference. And with trial and error, I think it will be the same with the other uniform. But yeah, that's pretty good for striker testing. Now we can move on to Alliance Battle Extreme testing with like the uniform itself. So we're starting off with the seasonal uniform. Let's see how he does here. I have to mention that compared like this uniform has all three cancels for Alliance Battle Extreme. However, the new uniform lacks, I think, silence in its kit. But yeah, given this kit also is very methodical to play, and the 5th skill, it does not have marginally more cooldown, I feel like it was more easy for me to play with this uniform. And also, given I also have a lot of practice with the older uniform, I felt more comfortable playing with it. But still, I got over 15 million, and it wasn't that difficult, and that I think is the end of this run. I'm satisfied with the score, but I don't necessarily use him on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, we get our first score on the board for Alliance Battle Extreme testing. Now we can see how the new uniform does. Given it's a bit more difficult and I don't really have much practice with playing him, I don't think I will get a better score. But yeah, like I mentioned, he's missing silence in his kit. So for those days with silence, or like the season with silence, you would probably need to use striker to effectively take on the stage. And yeah, everything else is exactly the same as I said before. I'm using the same rotation, everything cancelled into 4, and when I have the tier 3 skill available, I do a slight delay into 4. And yeah, let's see how he does here. Okay, we're near the end. It's close to 15 million. It's gonna be very close, I think. It seems like we're dealing almost the same amount of damage as the older uniform, and we just fall short by like 200k. That's a very marginal difference, but if you are min-maxing, I think you would probably go with the older uniform. But yeah, that ends our Alliance Battle Extreme testing. Now we can move on to Alliance Battle Legend testing. Given the new uniform has super armor into his kit, I think it might come in handy here, because oftentimes you find yourself getting guard broken here, and then he moves a lot. but I don't know how it will actually go, so let's just find out for ourselves. So as for the cancels, both the uniforms miss shock and fracture cancels in their kit, so you'd have to use striker for that as well. But yeah, let's see how this run ends up and see how we score. It already seems like we're going to be near about like the 8 million to like 10 million range. I usually don't use him in Alliance Battle, so I don't really have much practice here to give you like an approximate score like I get usually. But yeah, we're around the end and it seems like we crossed 8 million and we might go to 9 million, but not 10 million. Yeah, so it crosses 9 million and we're near the end. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's the end of the run, and now we can move on to the new uniforms Alliance Battle Legend drop. So with this uniform, I think we will struggle a little bit more given he does not have the V-pad. Even though the V-pad wasn't that great, I still think having a V-pad in your kit can make you very versatile for certain scenarios where you might need to pick up something, and that certain scenario comes up very often in Alliance Battle Legend. But still, we tried our best. We waited out the skills as long as possible so we could actually pick up the things, the Odin's Mites. And yeah, let's see how he scores here. So once again, I want to clarify the rotation I used. It was 1 cancel, 3 cancel, 5 cancel, 2 cancel, 4. And using the 6 whenever it's available before the 4. So I do a slight delay on 6 and then pop into 4. And it seems like we're en route to scoring a little bit more than the previous uniform. So it seems like it's up and down with the 2 uniforms. The results go back and forth almost. And in this case, we seem to be overtaking him, the older uniform, by a slight margin in Alliance Battle Legend. So yeah, this is the final score. Let's take a look at the comparison between the old and new uniform. So we started our testing with rift times. As you can see, it was 16 seconds faster. That was the biggest margin of like improvement with 27%. Next we had World Boss Legends. Here it seemed like the newer uniform was worse by 15 seconds. Then we came to Alliance Battle Extreme as a striker, and it seemed like we were slightly better with the new uniform. Then we went to Alliance Battle Extreme standalone, so like as the character himself, and it seemed like here he was a little bit worse. And then we came back to Alliance Battle Legend, and it seemed like the old one was worse than the newer one. So yeah, it goes to show that this uniform isn't the better uniform by a landslide, but given his kit has seen improvements in PvP area, maybe I need to test him out in PvP to give you guys a more solid, decision on if this uniform is worth it or not. However, as it stands, if you plan on using him for PvE specifically, if you already have the older uniform, this uniform isn't necessarily a must buy. You can stay away from this uniform as long as you have the old uniform and still not be missing out on anything. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I really still love how this uniform looks, and it's so cool to see like them integrate like a spider into his animations. But yeah, regardless of whatever, the tests are there to be seen and you can see the scores, and it seems like the improvement isn't massive for you to waste 1,000 crystals. And yeah, if you already have the seasonal, I would recommend staying away from this uniform for PvE at least. But yeah, that ends this video. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts down below and leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the love, and thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Peace.